Pembroke.
Yes.
Yes.
Have a seat, please.
Okay, it's now afternoon. Good afternoon, Pembroke.
Good afternoon.
We'll introduce ourselves very quickly and then a little bit about you. So I'm Peter Gibbon. I'm a senior research scholar at Boston University.
I'm Dorothy Sullivan, the past president of the American Society for Public Administration, which is an organization of senior level local, state, and government officials.
I'm Timmy Anafuakian. I'm a Harvard undergraduate and We the People.
I'm John Gray, a junior at Pembroke High School. Sorry.
I'm Nick Booth, senior at Pembroke High School. Hi, Aaron Kaplowitz, senior at Pembroke High School. This is our teacher, AP Government, Mr. Brandon Hall.
Okay, very good. So the question that we have selected from Unit 2 is question number 3, which I will read slowly. The office of the President was to a degree invented and made potentially strong as a counterweight to the excesses of legislative bodies. This was a large new grant of power, a new office, unlike anything before in Republican government. What was new or different about the office of President devised at the Philadelphia Convention? And follow-ups to that, in what ways did the office of President differ from that of consuls, kings, royal governors, or prime ministers? How did the framers try to achieve a balance between an energetic government, energetic executive, excuse me, achieve a balance between an energetic executive and limited government?
The office of the President during the period of the Articles of Confederation was far different from the position under the current Constitution. Under the Articles, the states had the majority of the power and the federal government was very weak, unable to even impose taxes on its people. The office of the President devised at the Philadelphia Convention was a much different, much more powerful position. The President is now considered by many to be the leader of the free world. The framers wanted to be sure that the office of the President was different from that of royalty or prime ministers, and they achieved that through not making the position all-powerful. While the President has a large say in government matters, he is still checked by the other branches of government. The Articles of Confederation didn't even include an executive branch of government. The convention wanted the President to be energetic, or able to provide for the common good at any given time, which would contrast the slow, deliberate nature of the Houses of Congress. The President, the delegates at the convention decided, should be able to provide for the common defense, preserve internal peace, and conduct international affairs. Under the Articles of Confederation, the President was only in charge of Congress, and as such, had very little power to make laws and execute them, as there was no real executive branch. The President under the Articles could be compared to the current Speaker of the House position, in charge of the legislature, but not really in reality able to do much to move current laws forward.
The framers didn't want the president to take over the country like a king or a tyrant, so they included provisions in the Constitution known as checks and balances to keep that from happening. These kept the president from being able to abuse his power and make decisions for the entire country that don't necessarily aid the common good. On international matters, for example, the president can negotiate a treaty with another country, but it can only go into effect with the final approval of 2/3 of Congress. Even so, in some congressional matters, including amending the Constitution, the president has very little legal say. While he may support such a bill, it is left up to Congress and states to pass it. Also, if the president is not acting in accordance with the Constitution, the legislature has the right to hold an impeachment trial, which, if a guilty verdict is returned, will remove the current president from office. The checks and balances are what balances the energetic president and deliberate setup of Congress. The president who can make decisions fairly quickly still has weight for them to pass through Congress. Similarly, if a bill manages to pass through Congress, the president has the right to veto anything that makes to his desk. These checks and balances, as a result of all this, have kept the founders' intentions intact over 200 years, keeping the presidency important and powerful, but not yet tyrannical.
The president, who before 1787 was simply a moderator in Congress, has become an important voice in American government due to the power given to him by the Philadelphia Convention. The delegates wanted to make sure to keep the position from becoming too much like a king. As a result, provisions were included that not only kept the president from becoming too powerful, but also ensured that the U.S. would have a peaceful turnover of power every 4 years. The delegates' original ideas about the U.S. presidency have held up for over 200 years with very few exceptions, and it has become, because of their structure of the position, that the president has come to be known as the leader of the free world.
Okay, very good. So my first follow-up relates to the president as the leader of the free world. Some think that he's grown too powerful. So some critics claim that the president has grown too powerful and that we need a better balance among the three branches. Do you agree or disagree? What evidence? Let me just repeat. Some critics claim that the presidency has grown to be too powerful since the days of George Washington, and that we need a better balance among the three branches. Drawing on your knowledge of current events and history, what do you guys think?
I disagree. I believe that it has become a more powerful position, but I don't believe that it has become too powerful. Theodore Roosevelt sort of invented the whole bully pulpit thing with the office of the president, and in making it a more powerful position, the president isn't necessarily taking over or becoming too powerful in the government. However, I think that the president, because he has been elected by the majority of the country, deserves the ability to make important decisions for the country, for the common good of the people. And I don't think it goes too far.
I disagree as well. If you look after 9/11, when President Bush wanted to go to war with Iraq, he can send in troops, but he still has to get the acceptance from Congress to stay there, and they did accept it. So people might, public perception might be that the president has a little bit more power than it used to be, but I think the rules that were created back in the Founding Fathers' days are still valid today.
I also disagree because I think as Americans, we also need to realize that we do live in a democracy where there are 3 levels of government, and the executive branch, so many checks and balances towards what he or she is able to do. For instance, you elect everyone that goes into these branches, except the judicial branch, which is the voice of you by the president. But I don't think the president is too powerful, just because if you have a problem with the president, there are different election cycles, and you can elect someone into the legislature to hold your view.
But let's say when you went into Pakistan after Osama bin Laden, you didn't consult at all the Congress or the Senate. It was done very secretively. Wasn't that an example of presidential overreach?
I think that's an example of a special ops kind of mission that was already keeping it secret under the watch of the government. So obviously it's not black and white. There's some gray area where the president might have a little bit more power to do something where he has to even make a quick decision, and I feel like that's one of those quick decisions that have to be made.
I also feel like the country needs to be able to understand that during wartime, I think rules should change slightly from those that are in place during peacetime. If the commander-in-chief of the United States Armed Forces needs to make a quick decision in order to protect his constituents, I think he should be able to do so.
Then again, to shed light on the whole Pakistan issue going and getting Osama bin Laden. What that was a national security issue. Not only that, but Osama bin Laden, I believe, was #1 on the FBI's most wanted also, for good reason. But that could have backlashed. America essentially put boots on the ground in Pakistan, which is a place they didn't declare wars, which is a place where they went in and killed people, Osama bin Laden particularly, that they didn't have permission for. Well, in many eyes, that might be considered as the president overreaching his bounds and putting the country at risk. You also have to realize what he went in for. He went in for the certain purpose of saving more American lives and also eliminating a threat, which I think is very important.
For this second follow-up question, the powers of the Congress are enumerated in the Constitution. Why do you think the framers did not enumerate the powers of the president in the same detail?
Well, the president's powers might be a little bit more broad, up to the individual who is president. And to put a strict set of rules might, might restrict what the president is able to do based on his own personality, his own beliefs, his own views. So when we vote for the president, we vote for his beliefs into office. And if we had a strict set of rules to stop that, it might, stop someone who has, a really good set of rules that they didn't see that when the founding fathers made the Constitution that applies to now. And that constitution seems like technology nowadays that's changed and stuff like that. They didn't really see, they didn't really know what was happening right now.
I can also see the delegates at the convention not necessarily knowing what to expect of the position, because they knew that they wanted to keep government limited enough that it wouldn't overpower everything else, but they wanted to be able to make it powerful enough to still provide for the common good of the country. And they knew exactly what they wanted Congress to do, and which is why these powers were strictly enumerated. But the president, this is sort of a new kind of thing. I mean, they're coming off of a king they've never really experienced or seen this kind of leadership in a country before. And I think they partially sort of left it, didn't explain them as clearly because they possibly weren't sure what was to become of the position themselves.
I think also, let me just add that the president is often looked at as the temperature gauge of the country. The status of the president often, what mindset he's in and where he is leading is often where we're looked at as how strong the country is at that current point. I feel that there are a lot more enumerated powers for Congress for the sole purpose that Congress is elected into a very large majority of people where, you are electing on laws that
Finish.
that essentially are the voice of the people, but the president is the ultimate move. If that makes any sense, I got it.
He reflects the feelings of the people
Yes,
in the way that he makes policy.
Okay, Pamela, very good. Really first-rate job. I thought your presentations were clear and organized. I didn't have to keep saying, what are they trying to say or what are they trying to get at? It was very lucid, and I particularly commend your knowledge of current events. So you were flexible in your stuff and were able to relate it to constitutional problems. So really a fine job. You to be congratulated.
It was a powerful presentation. All three of you were very good speakers. Also, you were able to explain your understanding of why the president has, in a sense, nebulous powers, because there was no precedent. And you did support, with current events, some of the reasons why the president's powers have expanded. So good job.
I thought you guys did a very good job. I thought the presentation was solid, to explain your point. It was very thorough. And I was particularly, I really appreciated the follow-up question answers. I thought you guys all worked really well together. And I did enjoy the fact that, especially for the first question, where you did present, though you guys did have your opinion of disagreeing, you did partially, especially with like the Osama bin Laden question, you presented the other side, but then deconstructed it. And I thought that was great, just so that we knew that you guys knew what opponents would say, but you had your answers for their objections.
Thank you, Pembroke.
Thank you.
Thank you.